Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Symphonic Forays for our final Classics concert. Classics 5, featuring our soloist Amit Peled, playing the cello concerto of Edward Elgar. We open with the Hebrides Overture by Mendelssohn and conclude with Dvorak's Symphony No. 8. But before we do that, I'm going to hand the microphone over to Rachel Sementina Salbalboro, our Executive Director, Chief Executive Officer. And welcome, Rachel, to Symphonic Forays.
Thank you, Andrew. Excited to be here in advance recording the Symphonic Forays so that everyone can hear all about our program tonight. I do want to start off by thanking our sponsors. Symphonic Forays this entire season has been sponsored by Cal Poly. Our concert this evening is sponsored by a group of donors in honor of Pat and Ben McAdams. No Ties is sponsored in honor of Cricket Handler, and Cricket Handler and Jerry Boots are also our guest artist sponsor this evening.
Fantastic. Well, I know that the last time that Amit was here, Cricket also and Jerry also sponsored his outreach when he gave a talk next door at the pavilion on Pablo the cello. But right now, we're getting ready for tonight's concert. Also, I want to introduce Stefan Podell, our board president, and also here to speak about, a little bit later in the talk, about his piece that is specially commissioned for tonight's program. Well, we've opened tonight with the Mendelssohn Fingal's Cave Overture, otherwise known as the Hebrides. It's got dual titles, so I think if you were to look it up on the internet, either one would be fine. And the reason being is that he wrote this work following a journey over to the Outer Hebrides of Western Scotland. And he was so enamored and affected by this journey that he immediately penned what he invented actually was a concert overture. And this is a work just with no relation to a ballet or a script or an opera as the typical overture would be. But this was really just as the next step in the romanticism of describing a scene in music. So the opening music, we hear the seabirds and the high violins, we hear the wind whistling, and we hear the gentle rocking of the waves and the cellos. So that's something that will be very enjoyable. Composers that followed Mendelssohn went on to take that genre, concert overture, and turned it into something fuller called the symphonic poem. So Berlioz's Liszt and some of the late 19th century composers went ahead with that. Anyway, since we've got a little bit of time on our hands, I thought I'd just ask you, Rachel, this has been 2 years now since you joined us as CEO. We're so excited. In between times, you've got now a 1-year-old daughter, Emma. How has it been for you, and how's it all going?
Thanks. April will mark 2 years where I've been in a staff role with the Slow Symphony, and I can't believe it. It's been 2 years already. We have just an incredible board, a wonderful staff, and I'm so proud and impressed by our musicians that we have with us. And I think we have so many things that we are looking forward to, especially things like tonight, as you might be watching this recorded live, is we have introduced a fundraising dinner as part of our concerts, really bringing the mission and connecting it to what we're doing so that you can celebrate and support the symphony at our Symphony in Bloom event, and then come in and see what you've contributed to and really get involved even more.
Well, we're very excited about this because this is the first time we've actually done the gala here at the PAC, out on the plaza. So I'm dying to know. This feels like the Oscars. Oh my goodness. Anyway, well that's just wonderful. And aside from just the way the staff, I know that we've hired a new development director. That's Emily Renew. I know that Sarah Rains has now moved more into a more operational role as the operations manager, taking over personnel. We've got a fantastic team, I have to say, and it's been just a wonderful journey. And sitting next to you is Stefan Podell, who's part of that journey. So tell us a little bit about the work that we're going to hear tonight, because at this gala, which for the last 2 galas, we've had an amazing live auction event, which has been the opportunity for someone to bid on commissioning a work that then you write and then we perform. And tonight is no exception. Can you please tell us about the work we're going to hear tonight?
Yeah, so tonight you'll be hearing the latest piece that I've written. It was commissioned by Carol and Ingrid Siegel, and it's dedicated to Ben McAdams. So it's very fitting. It just sort of so happened that the concert has also been sponsored in his memory. And the piece is entitled Rise. I met with Carol and Ingrid shortly after the last gala, actually, to talk about who Ben was for them. And they had a long relationship with him. And I only knew Ben for the last few years. I met him, I think, it was during COVID, I think maybe 2022 or thereabouts. And his energy was undeniable, and he, what he had accomplished, he had just, he sat down next to me at a fundraising dinner for the symphony, and he immediately started telling me about how he had led this drive to get every musician in the orchestra sponsored. And then I think he must have known I was a board member. And then he said, so what are you going to do about it next year? Like, I've done my bit. Now, like, so he immediately was challenging me and us to kind of carry that forward. And he just had such an impact on everyone around him. When I was talking with Carol and Ingrid about what Ben meant to them, at some point in that conversation they said, well, he was like a superhero. Mm-hmm. And I thought, well, I love film music, and writing a superhero theme sounds like a lot of fun. And so I said, I'm gonna run with that. So Rise is what I think Ben wanted everyone around him to do. You know, everything he did for the community, the organizations like the Symphony and organizations that supported children in need, and everything was to lift up everyone around him. And so the title Rise really spoke to me. And it's got this sort of little John Williams influence, and lots of brass and a very kind of energetic theme, and
harp and percussion as well.
Harp and percussion, and I think it's an exciting piece. I'm really looking forward to hearing the orchestra perform it.
Well, we're very fortunate that you live amongst us in Arroyo Grande, and in fact, it was 4 years ago that you first introduced your music to me, and we performed your bass concerto, which, by the way, Stefan has written for the Contemporary Youth Orchestra, which is based in Cleveland, for a number of your works, and that has been the inspiration, as well as scoring and arranging music for the legendary John Anderson of the group Yes, and he lives also in Arroyo Grande.
Yep, that's right.
So we're very fortunate that you're here, and I'm very grateful for the time and energy that you donate to the symphony. If you don't know, I mean, these auction items go for quite a pretty penny, so we're excited that we're able to bring this to the audience and then enjoy the fruits of your labor a mere 9 months later. It's pretty amazing. I don't know of any other orchestra in the country that is doing this just the same as what you are doing for us.
Well, I love being able to contribute to the orchestra in this way, and honestly, it's so rewarding to me as well as a composer. I mean, it's kind of my sideline gig, and not many composers get to hear their works performed by an orchestra, and one of this caliber in particular. And so every time, as much as it is the donation means a lot to the symphony, and the commission means a lot to the donors, of course, but it means a lot to me just to hear it performed. And it's every time that we've done this, I get chills. I get chills in rehearsal, I get chills in the performance, and so I'm really grateful that we found this outlet for me as well. So.
Well, it's a win-win-win, and we're all happy campers. So again, Rachel, tell us a little bit about what people can expect at the gala that they're enjoying right now, because by the time this is aired, we've still got the concert to go, and then the post-concert and everything else, and the types of things that people might be interested in, perhaps bidding on or raising the paddle for. You can just give us a little insights into that.
Great. Well, hopefully some of you are watching this a few days in advance of the concert because you already have your Symphony in Bloom tickets. We're going to be serving a wonderful dinner out in the plaza, and you will get to enjoy. We will have a happy hour, a reception at the beginning, some great silent auction pieces, including tickets to future other events, hotel stays, trips, restaurants. And then, of course, we will have our classic live auction, and we're thrilled to have some brand new surprises in our live auction this year, including some favorites that you might be familiar with, like the President's Box or some special items at Pops. And then you'll come in and enjoy the concert with everyone here, and we're all looking forward to Stefan's piece and many of the other pieces on the program. And if you attended the gala, you'll also get to enjoy a dessert reception after the concert and get a chance to mingle with some of our slow symphony musicians.
Oh, that's fantastic. I can't wait. Do I really have to conduct that night? Really? Sounds too good to be true. Well, two more things to talk about on this talk. One is that our guest, Amit Peled, is performing the Elgar Cello Concerto, which, along with the Dvorak Cello Concerto, is one of the most, those two works are the most performed 20th century concertos, or late romantic, early 20th century concertos that are on the international repertoire. It was penned in 1919, immediately after World War I. Elgar was his final major work. It was Opus 85. It's very serene, at once elegiac, contemplative, and very soulful. And I think it really touches people, those beautiful lines that the concerto inspires. It was made very popular in 1965, which is coming up to 60 years this year, that Jacqueline Dupre, the famous British cellist, made her recording with Daniel Barenboim, at the time her husband, conducting, and it's on YouTube, it's amazing, and she really set the bar for that piece. We're going to be breaking away in a moment to talk with Amit Peled in a Zoom interview, which I will have with him to talk a little bit further about the Elgar. And to finish the concert, we complete the evening with Dvorak's Symphony No. 8 in G major. It's often called the Sunny Symphony. It features the cello section and many beautiful Czech melodies that just seem to ooze from Dvorak's pen. And this is one of my favorite symphonies. It's probably a symphony that I've probably conducted the most, starting from when I just started out as a young conductor. It's a piece that I had to play the solos for as concertmaster of the Auckland Youth Orchestra. There's solos abounding. There's even an English horn solo. She has 7 notes. And wonderful solos for the flute and everything else. So it's a joy to play, it's a joy to listen to, and everyone gets a chance to shine in this wonderful Dvorak symphony. The 8th Symphony by Anthony Dvorak will conclude the concert. So thank you very much for tuning into our symphonic forays. We hope that you'll enjoy the concert. Thank you, Stefan and Rachel, for being part of our team. I just love the team that we make together, and we meet once a week on a Thursday, and we enjoy that. I'm really very appreciative of the work that you both do, and thank you all for listening. Good afternoon, Amit. It's so good to see you. And we're recording this on Zoom so that all of our guests in the gala right now will have an opportunity to see you before the event, before your wonderful performance of Elgar Cello Concerto. And
Yes.
we are so thrilled to have you back in San Luis Obispo. The Shostakovich was amazing the last time you played.
Great to be with you guys.
It is so nice. So tell us a little bit about what you're excited about returning to slow, and about this particular concerto, because we know that besides the Dvorak concerto, the Elgar is probably the most performed and most popular cello concerto of the 20th century concertos that we hear these days.
Yeah, so first of all, I have to say that I'm really excited to be back, just to see everybody and to make music together with you, Andrew. You're a dear friend, and it's really great. And Shostakovich was such a great memory from last time. From the first note, I felt that the orchestra is engaged completely, and it was really something special. So Elgar is, for every cellist, like you stated, that Dvorak and Elgar are the Mount Everest of cello concertos. And I remember as a child, of course, watching Jacqueline Dupre playing it, but I remember that particular scale in the first movement that leads to this humongous tutti. I played it, I think, 1,000 times in my practice room, imagining I'm actually playing it with orchestra since I was, 12 years old. I'm playing this scale, imagining, and then the day arrived when I was, I think, 15. I played it the first time, and I remember how I literally, my hands were shaking because I was so excited to lead into the orchestral part. And then, of course, it went with me all through my life, and to learn the story of First World War and the agony and sad and joy of the British Empire all mixed together. It's just a piece that it goes deeper and deeper into anybody who plays it or experience it. So I'm always grateful to play it every time.
Well, we are thrilled and looking forward to it so much. Indeed, that opening is absolutely unforgettable. And likewise, Jacqueline Dupre's performance was the iconic one. But it's also great because I know from your sound and just from your sheer presence on the podium, it's going to be something that everyone's going to be very excited about and listening to.
Thank you.
And just tell us a little bit about since your last time visit here. I know that you're in Johns Hopkins University. You teach at in Baltimore there, and tell us a little bit about your teaching duties and your studio and your performing, because it's now been 5 years since the pandemic. Hello.
Yeah.
And I know that that was a huge challenge for many of us. So two things to my question. One is, how is your studio going with your virtuoso players? And then just a kind of a reflection on life as a traveling soloist now that we see COVID in the back mirror.
Well, it's a question that incorporates my entire life, but I like to look at it. I like to look at it like I call it the triangle of my life, which is the teaching, the playing, and the family. And
Yes.
it's just the balance between the three that is really challenging, because when I travel too much, I miss my students and of course my family. But when I'm here teaching all the time, I miss the excitement on stage. So it's just the balance between the three. And I have to say that I feel so fortunate to be able to have that triangle in my life, to have a family first and foremost, but then to combine students and performing, because many of my colleagues simply just teach and some of them also just play, but the combination is really special because I learn from it so much. And I just love sharing with students and seeing how they blossom, and then taking that knowledge and that experience on the road and doing it as a cellist myself. So it's just the combination has been, for the last 21 years, which I've been doing this, really rewarding. And I start looking at it more as feeling blessed rather than lucky. I feel really blessed that I'm able to play and share music literally all over the world, and at the same time to go every week sort of to I call it the cello laboratory, and dig in to the pieces and dig into my personality and to the personality of each student. We just did what I call a cello gang performance with 5 of my students, and we call the program Around the World in 6 Cellos. And what I love about it, that of course we play pieces from different places in the world, but we also are literally from 6 different places in the world. And these days in America, regardless of your political views, I look at the beautiful side of it, me being from Israel, being able to become American and to teach students. The cello gang, this tour was with the cellists from Portugal, from Mexico, from Iowa City, from Venezuela, and from Korea, South Korea. So all of us together here in America, here in Johns Hopkins, creating music. We took the program on the road to Florida, and we played in 25 different public schools for kids. And for my students to have that experience, and for me as a teacher to see how they grow in front of students, it's priceless. And really, the word blessed comes back to mind. I mean, I feel blessed to be able to do it. And I feel blessed to be able to play Elgar with an orchestra and with such wonderful musicians that come actually from, last time I learned you're exactly halfway between LA and San Francisco. So to have that combination of just people getting together and making music, it's something really special.
Well, we are truly thankful for that, and wow, what a great project that is, getting into 25 different schools. Yes,
Yeah.
I know that first touch for youngsters is so important, and we are very excited about that. Um, I know that, and to hear what you say about the triangle family and teaching and playing, it truly is a wonderful combination. And actually, each discipline makes you sharper for the other, such as
Yeah,
performing gives you insights, and then teaching also gives you insights. And
absolutely. And family too.
and
Family too.
oh yeah, well that keeps you grounded, that's for sure.
Yeah. No, but even, when you talk about Elgar, and
Yes,
when I explain to students in the beginning of Elgar, it says nobilimente, noble.
yes,
And
yes, right.
when you try to explain to students what a noble Englishman means, it takes time and it takes life experience to realize that the same theme starts noble, and then 40 minutes later at the end, it doesn't say noble anymore after what happened during the peace or during the First World War. So to take them through the experience of the story behind the piece, it's something that one has to experience life in order to understand.
Yes.
There's a notion in Elgar, I want to be Jacqueline Dupre, call it the Jacqueline Dupre epidemic. And people try to play it with this kind of vast, huge excitement and sound at the beginning, where Elgar himself says, no, it's nobilimente, it starts noble. In fact, all my students, when they play it, I refer them to a recording which appears on YouTube. It's only audio, but it's Elgar himself conducting Beatrice Harrison, 1928.
Wow.
It's an amazing piece of history to realize. And back then, the reviews were not so great about the piece. But to see how he himself, with one of the greatest cellists of the time in 1928, looked at that piece, it's really a fascinating piece of music making.
And almost to the day, I mean, just it's only 3 years away, that 100th anniversary of that performance. It's
Yeah,
amazing to think back
yeah,
that all of these years have passed. And exactly right. I mean, the period immediately following World War I, and then exactly 100 years ago, the 1920s, as we call it, the Roaring Twenties.
yeah.
People are asking, what are we going to call the 2020s? I don't think anybody's come up with a name yet, but it shall be seen, I'm sure.
Yeah,
But
it's too scary to find a name to our 20s.
there is a lot to digest, and this is why we love the music and the emphasis. I think it's beautiful also that third movement, the Elgar song, is something
Oh,
truly intimate, and the fact that there are these four movements in a concerto, which was also again unusual because
yeah.
Brahms was the composer who set that in motion with his two piano concertos. Incidentally, we just did that last month, and
Mhm.
I noticed also that Elgar looked up to Brahms. His idol was Brahms, and he considered his music autumnal music. So I think there's some great connections here, and you and I, we could talk for a long, long time as we digest all of this. If you wouldn't mind just giving a shout out to our listeners who are going to be viewing this talk, just about, of course, your passion always comes through, but just as a notion, what you really think. You've just said about how it starts, begins nobilmente, and that
Yeah.
takes the journey, take us through it. What in summing up, what's your best takeaway?
Well, the story of the Elgar Concerto is heartbreaking, but it's a story of the English Empire. And Elgar, in 1919, when this piece was written, was an old man from the Victorian time. He was not from the 20th century. And he looked like through a mirror on what has happened to the world and the amount of death, for instance, that England experienced, the Europe experienced. Millions of men died. And he, as an old man, saw women starting to work in factory because simply there were no men left. And he started a concerto very noble, like an aristocrat or noble Englishman. If you have watched Downton Abbey, that's exactly that family. And
Exactly.
then it goes through the second movement, the joyful or the jolly English life that was before. And then, as you mentioned, come the third movement, which is really like, actually, if we talked about Shostakovich concertos that we did last time, it's like that cadenza. It's a soldier standing up in a battlefield,
Oh my
black and
gosh.
white, realizing the amount of death around that soldier, not realizing, am I dead or am I the only one alive left? And that takes you through agony of the third movement. And then comes the last movement, which is basically saying goodbye to the British Empire, which in the 20s, after the First World War, it basically started collapsing. And that's a very direct connection, I would say, to our beautiful country and what we have to be careful of. And then comes the last page, the coda of the concerto, which is sort of Wagnerian or, yeah, Brahms-like, but then I would take it to Wagner and Liszt even. The chords, the harmonies, the sadness, and then comes the theme that started the piece comes now at the end. Again, exactly the same besides two things. It doesn't have the noble in it, and it's asked for ritenuto in it. So he wants you to be wild. He wants you to say goodbye with agony, with sadness, with power as well. And the piece ends up with that notion of we're saying goodbye to something that was bigger than us, but we have to ask the question, why did we have to say goodbye to it? I mean, what people did to one another in First World War was something humanity didn't experience before. Tanks, gas, people killed each other with those instruments that were not before. And for somebody from the 19th century, Elgar, this was shocking. And again, the correlation which you made in the beginning to our 20s, things that we have to be careful of what we do to each other as humans, everything comes to place. I don't know about you, but when I finish that piece, my heartbeat is so fast and I'm all sweaty. And it's always a journey that takes me inside, what are we as humans? So that concerto is going to take all of us, I hope, to that point in our life, to our 20s. And I love what you just said, because I haven't thought about it in that way. Let's jump 100 years later and think of us. I think there's a lot of relationship there.
Yes. Well, thank you so much. I couldn't top that. That is fantastic, Amit, and we look forward to the performance, and I will end this recording now.
Okay, so I have two questions. First, inspired by the 7-note English horn solo, didn't Dvorak's 7th Symphony have 7 tuba notes somewhere in the middle? Isn't it about 7 tuba notes?
Oh.
Just like that's the whole tuba part right in the middle of the...
I would have to, you put me on the spot, I'll have to look at that. I mean, it's an amazing symphony in D minor and very difficult. And
Yeah.
I would love to do that. So that just gives me another chance to play that piece as well.
All right, well, we'll consider that one. And then the more serious question is, when you conduct something that is part of the repertoire, you've got, maybe there are lots of other interpretations of it that other conductors have had, other orchestras have performed. But then when there's a new piece, like Rise, what's it like for you as a conductor being the first to interpret a new piece? And obviously you've premiered a lot of works here and with the Wisconsin Chamber Orchestra.
That's a really good question. Well, first of all, back in the day, we didn't have the luxury of having an MP3 player to play through those works, so you had to crash through them on the piano. And that really was kind of new territory, just feeling that. But at the same time, as a conductor, you interpret what's on the page, and often you see something that maybe the composer didn't see or didn't realize at the time. And so having another set of eyes on it gives a different perspective, or just another perspective, a fresh perspective. I never forget, many years ago, 1993, I was asked to premiere a piano concerto by a young 16-year-old high school composer. And he was the soloist. And it sounded, as you would imagine, a young work, I wouldn't use the word juvenile because that sends the wrong message. I'd say a young adult. But of course, he used Rachmaninoff and Prokofiev as his inspiration. Of course, it sounded very much like a Rachmaninoff piano concerto, but there was a beautiful melody in the slow movement, and he spun it out, and I kind of slowed it down and said, this is such a glorious melody. Do you think we could take it just a little more slowly? And that kind of woke me up to the fact that when you have the luxury or the opportunity, the privilege, if you like, of hearing a work for the first time, there are many different indicators that you can pull out. So I'm very excited about doing your piece, you're right. And I think the orchestra is too, now that we're 3 years into, or 3 opportunities into this, they kind of get to know your style and they're looking forward to it, I'm sure. It was all a bit of an experiment to begin with, but that certainly had a longevity and we're excited about it. My thinking is, when is he going to make all of these pieces into a suite which we will put all together in one symphony one day? Well, we'll just have to stay tuned for that as well.
Just if you put 20 minutes into a program instead of 6, then
that's right. We'll
see
just
what
have to do
happens.
that. Exactly. We need to do something a little longer next time. Again, thank you so much. Thank you, Rachel. Do you have any last parting words?
I just want to say thank you to everyone who's taking the time to watch this in advance. We appreciate you being flexible with us as we bring you the virtual symphonic forays.
Thank you.